Alright, so this is part 3 of how to ride a dirt bike. So after you learn how to shift, after you learn how to pull out in the basic controls, now we're going to go over some types of terrain that you'll encounter on a trail. So the first and probably the easiest and one of the funnest is a whoop section. So it might be hard to see because of the dirt. It's basically like this. So it's basically like this. Now some of them might be more, some of them might be less, and they're usually in places where you shouldn't be, so if you see those, you're probably not welcome, but I don't give a I'm gonna do this. But these are actually fun. I don't know why they expect that they're gonna stop people, but they're actually fun. So this is a small one. It's only like 3 or 4. Some of them might be like 10 or 20. Some of them might be 1 or 2. But anyway, so how you want to tackle these is you want to, now obviously it's going to be easier to show while I'm going, but you want to stand up on the bike, right, like this, leaning over, arms up, and you just want to have the front end come up, and you could do them 2 ways. You could either go over them easily, or you could just hop over the top, which if you're going to go over the top, you're going to go a little faster, and it's a little more advanced, so I'll just show you the normal way for now, and we'll show you some more advanced techniques in a later video. So, start your bike up. Now you're gonna need a little bit of speed, Alright guys, so that is the first obstacle. Pretty easy, and they're sort of fun. The more you have, the more fun it is. So, but anyway, the second type of terrain, which I kind of did 2 parts in one time, is gravel. So when you're riding in gravel, you want to reduce your speed a little bit, but not too much. Alright, you could honestly go regular, but it's a little more slick, so you won't have as much grip, and you don't want to use a front brake, because the more pressure you put on the front, the more it's going to wash out, which is very hard to control. It's better if the back end slides a little bit than the front. And you want to lean back a little bit, and that's basically how you ride in gravel. And you don't want to turn too much. You want to kind of stay straight, which also gives you more speed, so it's a double whammy of goodness. So anyway, we'll be back with the third obstacle. Alright guys, so the second to last terrain that I'm going to tell you today is how to go up rocks. Now, they might look a little challenging, and sometimes they are for a new rider. They were a little challenging for me, but anyway, as we can see back here, we have some rocks. And so some good tips for rock climbing is, 1, avoid loose rocks. So if you go over a loose rock, it could roll out and you could wreck pretty easily. So that's the first step. The second is try to pick a good line where it's the smoothest possible. Obviously, the more rocks you could avoid, the easier it'll be, right? Makes sense. And if you have to go over rocks, because you're gonna have to go over some rocks, go over some rocks that are in the ground that you know aren't gonna move. And you can go over those, and if you do have to go over rocks, just kind of pop the wheel up a little bit, give it a little gas. Don't be afraid to go, because you're gonna have to go a little fast to stay stable. So don't be afraid to go too fast that you're gonna wreck. You just gotta hold on to the handlebars, but you don't need to grip them really tight. You can let it loose. You gotta let the bike move a little bit. And just the last tip is just keep a steady throttle. And you might need to use a little clutch if you have to slow down to make a sharper turn in the rocks. You might need to use the clutch a little bit, but other than that, that's basically it on how to ride up the rocks. And also, if you're going up a hill, I would recommend going first gear. So that's the easiest. It has the best traction, and obviously you don't want to go 5th gear up a hill, a rocky hill. It's not very smart, or you know, probably gonna die. But probably not. But you know what I'm saying. You want to go in a lower gear first, second. In a low gear, it makes it much easier. Plus, you have just better. So, get started. Alright guys, so now that you went up a rock, you're most likely going to have to go down a rock hill. So it's basically the same principles. Now obviously going downhill, you want to try not to use your front brake. So try not to use that, and you want to go decently slow, but you don't have to go like a grandmother on a Sunday drive. You go a little quick, and you want to use the clutch a little bit. So, and you basically want to do the same thing, avoid big loose rocks and go where the least amount of rocks are. That's basically how you do it. And also, if your leg hurts or after a lot of riding you can't kickstart the bike, what you want to do is have the bike in. Now this is a way to start the bike, so actually two parts in one part, if that makes sense. So what you're going to want to do is hold the clutch in, be in first gear, bike's not started right, you want to roll down the hill and let the clutch out and it'll start. You can see bike's not started. Alright guys, so the final part of this episode is going to be how to go through puddles. Now, if you look down there, that's a decently sized puddle, you know, decently big. This one, you know, you could go pretty quick through. Now there's some puddles that are bigger and you got to go slow, but ones like these, you could go moderately fast. Now if you have a little pooey one, like if you look all the way at the end, at that part and there's just a little bit of water, you don't even need to slow down. You could just go right through it. But if there's one like this, you might have to slow down a little bit. And one thing is, don't be afraid to get dirty or wet. You're on a dirt bike. It's called, I should probably take these up. It's called dirt bike for a reason. You're supposed to get dirty, right? You know, common sense. It's in the name. So, now I'll show you how to do this. What you basically want to do is ride like normal. And now if you're going to go slow through it, you're going to want to use the clutch a little bit. But if you're going to do this one like me, you know, we don't give no. We're gonna go right through it. So that's how you go through a puddle. Alright guys, so the last part of this video, part 3 on how to ride a dirt bike, is going through big puddles. So now it's not very wide, it is pretty deep. And you'll see when I go through it. So how to go through these is when you go through it, you want to hold in the, not all the way, you don't want to hold in the clutch all the way, you won't go anywhere. Just a little bit, just like a quarter to half, so you don't stall. And you can give it a a little bit of gas too. So now I'll show you how to do it. Alright guys, so thank you for tuning in to part 3 of how to ride a dirt bike. And I will see you guys next time for part 4 of how to be faster.